The following conversations are taken from our channel membership exclusive weekly live show that we do on Saturdays from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called Members Talk Live. Find out how you can become a member and appear on the show. All of the information is down in the description below, as well as all the links to the channels of today's guests. Check them out, and I hope to talk with you very soon. The Ace Avenue joining us. We've got Have You Seen That with T and Michael Entity. How you fellas doing today?
Pretty good.
Good,
I'm
man.
doing
How are you
pretty
guys?
pretty great.
We don't really have a full structured show today. We're just kind of gonna hang out. We're just kind of gonna chat. We're just kind of gonna see where the conversation goes, and I mean, I'm sure there's tons of stuff to talk about. For example, are you guys watching Acolyte?
No, I am not right now. No.
No. How about
Yes,
you, Ace?
but I have not seen the last episode because I've been so busy. But
Uh,
I've heard about everything that happened.
it seems to be the very hot button of Star Wars nowadays, which I think the hate on the episode is pretty over exaggerated. I don't think it's necessarily great stuff, but it's far from the worst stuff we've ever seen in Star Wars. So
Yeah,
these like a bunch of thumbnails and all these people of like this ruined Star Wars forever. There's no coming back from this. It's like yeah,
so,
you'll be in line for Mandalorian and Grogu. Like don't
yeah.
like come on, don't even lie to yourself.
So let me ask you because I haven't seen it, neither have they. Because I've seen the other two. Does this episode to you, without any spoilers, take away the greatness of Anakin?
Um,
Because that's what I'm
I've
hearing a
seen
lot of
the
what people are getting upset about.
I've seen the argument.
Mm-hmm.
I will say there's valid points to the argument that I do agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't think it does to the extent that people are like I'll need to see where they take the rest of the show before I really decide if it like totally ruins Anakin or doesn't, because there's definitely implications to what they're saying. They're implying things that do allude to like taking away the specialness of Anakin, which yeah, I'm not a big fan of, but they haven't fully come out and said it.
Yeah.
So I'll wait and see if there's like supposed to be some big revelation, because that's something I'm really bothered with. The show was pitched as this murder mystery, and so far there's been no mystery.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've kind of just given all their cards away at the start. We're 3 episodes in, and I kind of already know everything that they're trying to keep hidden. So it's weird. I don't understand the execution of the show at all.
Yeah, unless they have like some big dynamic switch because they have what 5 more episodes. This is 8,
I
right?
think so.
So yeah, because like you said, the first 2 episodes that we talked about, they pretty much laid it down for us. I liked it for the most part. Like I said, it was pretty simple. You know, had our Jedi. I love my Star Wars with Jedi. Haven't got a chance to watch this episode, but I did hear that they actually were coming out and talking about episode 3. I guess they were trying to preemptively prepare people, saying that this was going to be the controversial episode, and it definitely stirred the talking
Oh
points
yeah,
at the very least. People are
No
talking
doubt.
about it. So
it was controversial. All right. Are you guys interested, T? Michael, are you guys interested in watching The Acolyte? Why haven't you guys caught on to it yet?
Man. I think when it just comes to like new Star Wars material, um, even though it's the whole judging a book by its cover thing, I just don't get excited for like other Star Wars property anymore. Like I only
Mhm.
love the original trilogy. I love the prequels too, just because I love them. And I'm not, and the new trilogy is okay. It's just there's nothing that really interests me about like new Star Wars material. I just like see trailers for stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't really care. And I've seen a couple clips of it on TikTok. I've seen people talk about it, and I haven't really heard a lot of good things. And I know people always say you should watch something for yourself, but I don't know. For some reason it just doesn't really seem like the show is going to do anything for me. Who knows? Maybe this conversation we're having might change my mind in about an hour. But as of right now, this doesn't really like grab my attention.
For me, it's not a recommend yet. I haven't gotten to the point, and I'm getting concerned too because we're like Ace said, 8 episodes. Episode 4 is next. That's halfway through the series or the season, and I'm not into it. So yeah, we'll see
Yeah,
how it goes. But
yeah. Usually once you get to the net, like at least 1 or 2 episodes is when like the show gives it like that tone where you go, here's how the rest of the show is going to be. But if you guys are on episode 4 yet and you're not interested, you probably won't be interested the rest of the show, maybe.
So I liken the Star Wars fan base to people who love the Dallas Cowboys.
You better get a first down. You.
They're so one-sided or like they don't see like it. There's so many different shades of gray when it comes to filmmaking, when it comes to like making any type of content, right? And I just think people close themselves off to anything different, right? And we
Yeah.
just moved past the simplicity of Star Wars. It was so intricate in 1977, right? It was groundbreaking, right? And we've seen with the prequels and the sequel trilogy that with the times they've tried to do different things to kind of live up to the times. And the 2000s was a weird era. The 90s was a weird era, and then you get into the aughts as they call it. Like you get into that time, and people are jaded. Like, and it kind of showed in that sequel trilogy how they make
Yeah.
films like Superman. Like, you got to make an emo Superman. You got to make this. Like we've gone away from the pure. Like, I'm happy to be a hero. Like, I'm like Luke was just this plucky kid who lived on a desert planet. Like,
Right.
uh, the fan base will not let you, like, they won't go past that. I've heard the debates about this episode, what it's doing to Anakin's legacy, and like at some point, everything is gonna get rewritten. Like at some
Yeah.
point, all the canon is gonna be like it's hard to keep things canon. It's hard to tell a story in the past without changing it, with it still being relevant current. So
Yeah.
I have like honestly, I keep saying I'm gonna watch Andor since Andor came out. I was like, I'm gonna binge watch it, and I've just never got around to it because I'm just like the fan base turns me off to all of the properties. Like instead of
Mhm.
coming out and saying, you know what, I just don't enjoy this. No, this is not Star Wars. This is the worst thing ever. Everything's the worst thing ever, and everything's not Star Wars, but it is. Like Disney owns it. I
Yeah.
mean, you take it or leave it, but people are gotta tell their opinion. So
Yeah. See,
they
that's
gotta yell it.
the
Like,
thing with Andor is, and I think why I love Andor is because when you're coming into an established IP, Star Wars especially, where it's like created by George Lucas and stuff like that. George Lucas set up things. George Lucas had established things, and it kind of feels like when you're stepping into his world, you kind of need to respect that. At least that's kind of how I feel about it. And I feel like Andor took the empire, for example, that George Lucas created, and they explored that deeper while still keeping intact the idea of what the empire was that George Lucas was kind of setting up in Star Wars. And it felt like they were continuing that as opposed to coming in and like, I'm gonna do my own thing. Like, I feel like that's kind of why The Last Jedi is so upheaved as well, because it's like George Lucas established these things with these characters, and then someone came in and was like, well, that's all good and dandy, but now they're mine. I'm going to do my own thing. And that's when I think the fans get a little resistant to that. And I feel like with Acolyte so far, it does feel like someone stepping into George Lucas's world and being like, yeah, George did some stuff in there, but now it's ours, and we're going to mess around with this and that. And it goes kind of against some of the things that George Lucas is also such like a anomaly when it comes to creatives, and like, because for the most part people won't care if you come into someone's franchise and do different things, to do your own thing. But like George Lucas is usually referred to as the creator. like
Yeah.
like they gave him like a godlike title for Star Wars. So fans of Star Wars, they're so interesting because it's like if you go against the creator, it is like a religious thing. It's like you're going against the creator's laws and stuff like that. So I agree with you there, T. Like the Star Wars fandom can be very almost cultish, almost
so
cultish.
I mean, you said religion. There actually is a religion called Jediism, a real life religion.
That's right. I remember hearing about that. I
so
never
Yeah.
have met someone who believes in that, but I
I
have
have a
heard about that.
question. I have a question for the group.
Yeah.
Did any of you guys think it was a good idea for the Force to be midichlorians, like the midichlorian thing? Like everybody keeps saying George Lucas is this genius, but he like once that happened, honestly, they lost me. I was like,
Mhm.
this is utterly ridiculous. And he made that, by the way. He made the prequels. It wasn't somebody
Oh,
else
yeah.
who bastardized his ideas. Like he made those prequels, and those prequels, for the most part, were terrible. That midichlorian conversation just completely threw
Yep.
me off. And if we include that, if they included that in any of this new content, people would revolt then too, because they wanted it banished. That's why they never mentioned it in any of the other Star Wars properties, because it was a terrible idea. And he wanted to do a sequel trilogy going deeper into midichlorians, and that would have a
Yep.
biology class I don't want to attend.
Here's what George Lucas had to say. Okay, let's just go with this. The next 3 Star Wars films were going to get into a microbiotic world. But there's this world of creatures that operate different than we do. I call them the wills. And the wills are the ones who actually control the universe.
I'll make you stop.
I used to say, ultimately, what this means is we were just cars, vehicles for the wills to travel around in. We're vessels for them. And the conduit is the midichlorians. The midichlorians are the ones that communicate with the will.
What the hell is even that?
Well, that kind of goes back to like the religious cultish thing with the Star Wars fans, because they'll rewrite history in some ways, and they'll also say like, "Oh, I hate the midichlorians. It ruined the Force. It brought the Force down to a biological element. It wasn't spiritual. It wasn't this and that the Force was. George Lucas ruined the Force." And then you get to Acolyte, and it's like, but the creator established that the Force is this, and so if the creator establishes, then that's what it is, and we can't change that. And it's like, but you hate it, but you don't like it. So yeah, it's a no-win situation. Like anyone that has Star Wars, like even these people that are like, bring George Lucas back. It's like, why do you think that's going to fix the problem? Like I think that George Lucas being involved would help Star Wars, because I do think that he brings things to the Star Wars world that he created that no one else can bring. Like one of the things that bothers me in the Acolyte is some of the dialogue, because the dialogue sounds like someone trying to imitate Star Wars and not really Star Wars. Like if someone's a mechanic, they call that a mechanic. It's like mechanic, mechanic. That's great. There's some treat that establishes in the last episode of the Acolyte called spice cream, which is like ice cream, I guess. They just I don't know. It's just some of the language in it is, I'm like, it feels like you're trying to be Star Wars. It doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. And yeah, it's
Like it
weird.
almost feels like a
I don't think you'll
spoof.
ever win.
Yeah,
What was that?
Like it almost feels like a spoof in a way, like a parody.
like a parody. Mhm.
Sometimes, like I wouldn't say the execution of like the story feels like a spoof. It does feel like they're trying to be Star Wars, but it that's what it feels like. It feels like they're trying. It doesn't feel like Star Wars.
Right. Okay. All right.
But at this
Yeah.
point, it's like, what does Star Wars, like, what does being Star Wars even mean? Like, that's something that I throw around. That's something that a lot of people throw around. It doesn't feel like Star Wars. It's like, well, what does that mean? Like, what are we wanting for it to feel like Star Wars? And I don't think the fandom knows. I honestly don't think anyone knows what they want from Star Wars. I think what they want is the nostalgic that they had as a kid,
Yep.
and I don't think they'll ever be able to get that. And that's what they want. And yeah, I just think it's a no-win situation for them at Star Wars.
I mean, they did get that nostalgia in The Force Awakens, and what did they do? Oh my gosh, this is nostalgia.
It's all the
Do-
same.
I love The Force Awakens
I do
because
too.
it was
too.
nostalgic. Like I loved it because it brought me back to that original Star Wars feeling. And like
Yeah.
you said, I don't think the fandom knows what they want, because they had it. Like if they would have just kept on the same track as The Force Awakens and not like did a complete shift with The Last Jedi, because they did that because the fandom revolted because The Force Awakens was too similar to episode 1. And I was like, that's why I loved it. It was fun.
Yeah. Exactly.
It had that element of wonder and just, you were exploring new worlds, and you ruined it. Like you had it and you ruined it.
Well, I mean, The Force Awakens, I mean, I loved it. I saw it in theaters, loved it. I've watched it since then. I still love it. It brought back all the nostalgia, but it didn't feel like they were just throwing out references just to get people excited. The Force Awakens had a good story, setting up characters with Finn, Poe, and then, Rey. They were setting up these characters so good. Then obviously they would bring back Han and Leia, but they actually had a purpose to the story. That whole storyline where Kylo Ren is Han and Leia's son, that was such a great idea, like to have
Mhm.
that brings so much more emotion to the story. And I just thought that was such a genius way. Then they killed off Han. Everybody was sad. The ending battle with Finn and Kylo was awesome. Finn being in that Koba, leaving us on that cliffhanger. I loved it. And even though the two other movies didn't really exceed my expectations, I still love The Force Awakens. I really do. Then The Last Jedi came on, and the first hour of Last Jedi, I was like, okay, I'm seeing where this is going. And then when it ends, you're like, what? What did you do, Ryan Johnson? Like, it's almost like The Last Jedi was also another setup because Ryan Johnson's probably just there like, I didn't like the way JJ did his setup, so I'm going to change it. And what do? They kill Snoke, who could have been a really great villain, but unfortunately wasn't. And then
Yeah.
they made Rise of Skywalker. JJ's like, oh crap, like we don't have a villain. Ideas, ideas, ideas. Palpatine's back.
Yes, somehow Palpatine is returned.
That, what
Worst
and they're
line in
just like, well,
cinema.
they're thinking like, wait, look, we're looking at the script. We don't know how Palpatine came back, so they're just looking at Oscar Isaac. You know what? Just make up something. And Oscar's just like, okay, action. Somehow Palpatine has returned, and they're like, print. I like that. It's like,
Great improvisation. Great improv there.
you know, it was funny, man. When I first saw that in the theaters, I was actually really tired the first 15 minutes, and then I started to get more awake. So I didn't pay attention to that explanation. But then when I like rewatched it again at home, I'm like, wow, like that is probably some of the laziest writing ever. Like I wonder how much that writer actually got paid to write that down.
Yeah. Which I will say the Acolyte's better than Rise of Skywalker.
Okay.
Like at least like the Acolyte is bringing new ideas to Star Wars, and it is trying to tell a different story than we've seen in Star Wars. I'm just very disappointed in the execution so far, which is
Right.
the biggest thing.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. All right, listening to you guys, I'm more of a casual Star Wars fan. I take them for what they're worth, so therefore I enjoy them more.
Right.
Like, because I don't have some big, deep dive into it where I'm like, okay, this has to be something. The Star Wars fan base is very, very toxic. And it's actually starting to become like that with the MCU as well. The MCU fan base is
Yes.
starting to drift over into that
Oh, I
toxicity
hate to see it,
of
man.
that,
I
you know.
hate it so
Yeah,
much.
because
Breaks
the
my
thing
heart.
is, to me, when I look at these movies, I take them for what they're worth, and I'm like, okay, I'm entertained. They've done their job for the most part, and I try not to just overthink them, so therefore I kind of enjoy them a little more. Like the last two, I hear the uproar. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, they're so terrible," because a lot of people are nitpicking it, and I'm like, they're not as bad as the fan base is making it out to be. If you have somebody that's never ever heard of Star Wars, you would think it's such a trash franchise. Like no movie is good because the fans are very opinionated at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They want to see
Yep.
what they want to see. I want to see this, so if I don't get to see that, it's bad. It's trash. But when I'm watching Star Wars, especially with the Disney stuff, like me and Zach talked about, I want to see creativity. I want to see things that I haven't seen from the other movies. Kylo Ren stopping the blast midair, we haven't got to see that. Vader bringing down the carrier, we haven't gotten to see that in a long
That was
time.
awesome.
You know what I'm saying? Luke going off in Mandalorian, that's some of the best. We've never seen Luke go off like that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
going off against those droids. So I just want to see creativity. Kylo Ren bringing out the saber transfer from Rey was very creative to me, and I'm just like, wow, like because we haven't seen it before, and that's all I want to see from Star Wars: something new, something exciting, rather than just the same old stuff. And of course, I want my Jedi in. Star Wars. That's why I haven't really gotten into Andor because I need Jedi outside of Rogue One. Rogue One was really, really good. And
Yeah, I
a
like
lot of
Rogue
people
One.
put
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
A lot of people put that at the top of their list. But like I said, Star Wars fans are very opinionated. They're like, oh, it was okay, but I would have rather have seen this. If you rather seen that, then go get your own. Then write your own fan fiction. It's as simple as that. Like
Yeah.
I
that's what it
agree.
comes down to.
Yeah, I agree. Because Rise of Skywalker wasn't like awful like most people made it out to be. Because there are a lot of great things. Maybe you guys can disagree or agree with me. There actually are a lot of like A+ material in Rise of Skywalker. There was just some decisions made in that film that didn't work. Like I felt like the whole Rey being the granddaughter of Palpatine was interesting, but it was just kind of like, okay. I mean, who cares? It's not like she's gonna be a bad guy. Like we already know she's a good person. So I just felt that was kind of like, I felt like that was unnecessary. I
Mhm.
also felt like how they were building up Kylo and Rey to be like this, almost like a brother sister or a cousin type relationship. At the end of the movie, they kiss, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then Finn's just standing
Yeah.
there like, really,
Well,
Rey?
We've seen brother and sisters kiss in this universe before, so it's nothing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they had more chemistry.
Which is even which adds to the weirdness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then
yes.
Luke just kisses her, and he's just like that.
Exactly.
Oh gosh.
Chilling.
So, but like I said, I do enjoy it for what they're worth, especially like scenes where we got to see Luke as the Force goes going against Kylo. I thought that was very creative,
That
and
was
you'll
actually
sell
awesome.
me. You'll sell me on that as long as you have the creativity, the the big battles, stuff like that. The dialogue has never been something that you go to see these movies for. We know that with
No.
the Anakin Sand. We don't go for the dialogue and stuff like that. But like I said, for me personally, I take them for what they're worth. The fan base is very toxic at the end of the day. And like I said, MCU is getting up there as well. So yeah.
Deadpool and Wolverine, come on, save it.
That's gotta be
Unite
the
us
savior.
again.
It's going to. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. They give Ryan Reynolds so much creative control with that film. It's going to be great. It will.
Oh, absolutely. Here was a topic that I did want to throw by you guys that came out this week. Blade lost another director this
Yep.
week. What
Just
do you
canceled.
guys
Yeah, I
thoughts
did
on
see
that?
that. Marvel's Blade loses another director. A year and a half after he was attached back in late 2022, 71 director Jan Damage, sorry if I got that wrong, has now exited Marvel Studios' long in the works Blade film. The Wrap broke the news indicating that the departure is amicable and happened some time ago. Actor Mahershala Ali, who remained attached to star in the project, was first announced as being cast in the part nearly 5 years ago. Oh my goodness. When the original director, Bassam Tariq, again, sorry if I got that wrong, exited over creative differences just weeks before filming was to begin in fall 2022, Ali handpicked Damage to direct. Delays led to new writers and other shifts in personnel, but Damage stayed aboard until now. This marks the latest challenge for the project, which has hired Eric Pearson to work on the latest draft. Pearson comes aboard after Stacey O.C. Kufar, Bew DeMayo, a bunch of other writers, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, Blade presently has a release date of November 7th, 2025. One it's unlikely to hold if a new director and writer overhaul it. Yeah, I don't see that. I don't see
We'll
this
see.
coming out next year.
No.
I don't see this coming out next year.
It's gonna be
I mean,
another
they
delay.
can.
I mean, they can make movies as fast as they can make them now. You know what I'm saying? But it's just been so many delays, and it's just like it's making me think like it's one thing like with the Captain America movies that with the Sam Wilson ones that's coming out where it's not doing well in test screenings, so they're pushing it back. But this hasn't even like really started. And I'm like, what is going on? And like I said, my biggest fear is that Mahershala Ali's just going to say, you know what, I'm done. It's been too many delays. It's been 5 years already.
Yeah.
Outside of that one scene from Eternals, I have not been Blade. And like, let's get it going already. How hard can it really be? It just makes me think like they're really trying hard to tie it in. Just give us a Blade movie with, and then, with Midnight Suns and go from there. Like I told Zach, I would love to see Giancarlo Esposito as Whistler.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Just go from there. Like, how hard is it? They're making it a lot harder than what it has to be.
If Madam Web and Morbius and Kraven the Hunter are able to come out in theaters successfully with no problems, what's this film's excuse?
Successfully.
Don't do that. Don't do that's a terrible. That is a terrible. You could go make Madam Web 2 in like a month and like, hey, this is a movie.
That makes me question what Michael's thoughts on success is. It's like successfully. Like.
I mean, they did go out into theaters, but success I think is a little bit.
Yeah, not success, but they did.
They were made.
They did in theaters.
They were made. Yeah.
I just think with these Blade movies, I think Marvel is in panic mode, and if they feel like they have to have this perfect movie to launch the Midnight Suns franchise. Blade is like a proven entity. You get a badass and a black leather duster running around killing vampires, like it does it. It's gonna sell itself. Mahershala Ali is a certified badass. He looks the part. He talks the part. He sounds. Wesley Snipes. Blade. Looking back on it, revisionist history, like it is a classic. But it's not the greatest thing you've ever seen. But it really did save comic book movies. It was good action, great one-liners. Wesley was a complete badass. Like he owned the screen.
Rated
like
R.
he looked like the dude you didn't want to see at the end of the alley. Mahershala Ali is the exact same thing. You make it really dark. You make it really dank. It looks like it's shot in the sewers. And you just have Mahershala Ali just killing vampire, and if Giancarlo Esposito is Whistler, I already bought 5 tickets. Like that would that sells me immediately. But anybody bring back Chris Christopherson. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
don't care. Bring like those are great movies. And it's not that hard to do this. Like if they're trying to tie in all of these other heroes, I think that's the biggest issue, is they're
Yeah.
trying to tie in all of these random Midnight Suns, which I honestly think is not going to do as well as they think it is. Like
Well, it's pretty
they're
niche.
I could agree with that.
it is like there's a fan base who is anticipating the Midnight Suns movies, but that fan base isn't going to get the Disney Marvel money that they think it's
Mhm.
going to get. It's not going to do Deadpool and Wolverine numbers
They
because
would have to
people
make it
don't
very,
care.
very dark, like very, very dark, to get to sell
Yeah.
people like I'm talking about like DC type dark, because like they're a
Yes.
fan base that would love to see darker versions of Marvel. That's the movie that you would have to do it, but you're also taking characters like, you know, Doctor Strange, Mo- uh, Blade, the dude that we saw Jon Snow's character play. I think he's Black Knight.
Yeah, Black
It's
Knight.
just
Right.
you're seeing, you know, somebody outside of Doctor Strange, these characters aren't established, so they're not going to sell the casual fans unless you make it like super gritty and dark and, you know, rated R and stuff like that.
Yeah, I do hear you guys throwing around. It shouldn't be that hard, and I think there's more to it than I think we're actually giving it credit for, because I do think that they've kind of told us already that the story's locked down. They have the story in place. They're bringing on a writer to like revise the script, the dialogue, maybe some of the action sequences. Who knows? I think honestly, it comes down to the fact that this is still a Disney property, and I do think that Marvel is in a position right now where they're trying to. First of all, they are trying to do a lot right now. They are trying to, in some ways, win the fan base back. They're trying to get their quality back on track. At the same time, they're trying to introduce X-Men and Fantastic Four. Both fantastical ideas, both ideas that kind of require explanation of how they fit into the MCU. Where have the mutants been this whole time? How are you going to bring mutants in and still get that whole kind of human versus mutant mentality going on while we've had superheroes? Like, why are the X-Men hated in the MCU when we've had like Spider-Man and Scarlet Witch and all that stuff people love? Like, you've got to find a way to make that work and explain that. Now you're also bringing in Blade, which brings a whole other realm of vampire lore and vampire beings into the MCU. So it's like, okay, so where have the vampires been? They've just been running around the whole time. And I also think that we have to acknowledge that this is Disney and they have shareholders. And it's like, yes, you have Deadpool and Wolverine that came from Fox. That's an established R-rated brand. That can be like their one-off thing. Or like, we understand Deadpool makes a lot of money. We think we'll make a lot of money from Deadpool. So yes, R-rated, comes from Fox. We can do that. Blade, however, is a little bit less. It's more of a gamble. Blade is a little bit more of a gamble. And you also have to think of like, okay, so we're Disney. We're doing vampires now. Are we doing blood? How much blood do we want to show? Are we blood sucking? How are we going to do that as the Marvel Disney brand that we have established with this character that honestly comes with really dark themes and dark maturity? And are people going to be ready for that in the MCU is probably what some of the shareholders at Disney are thinking about. And I'm sure that there's a lot of stuff going on with the studio that I wouldn't be surprised if that led to this director's departure, where it's just like there's too many hurdles, there's too many people saying no to this creative vision that I have, that I'm just done. Like, I do think that there's a lot more behind the scenes happening than just what's happening on set.
Yeah. The
Right.
blood point is interesting that you make, because because remember, Morbius was in Spider-Man the animated series. They didn't use blood in that, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like they were
But
able to tone it down with like life force and stuff like that. I mean, there's different
true.
routes to do it, you know what I'm saying? Like, but you know, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you for the most part. It's not just them; they have to take into consideration of a lot of other factors. But I think at this point, it's just frustrating for the fans that want it, because 5 years is a long time that we've been promised that this is supposed to come out,
Yeah.
and you know. My biggest gripe is, like I said, I just don't want to waste Mahershala Ali, because he was amazing in Luke Cage.
Yep.
He's amazing in a lot of things that he's in. And I'm just like, I'm at the point where I'm like, yo, do this, because I'm expecting anytime now, breaking news, Mahershala Ali decides he wants to walk away. And then what are they going to do?
Yeah, he wants to stop eating chicken and salads for the rest of his life
Exactly.
and not get
Yeah,
rewarded for
like
it.
Exactly.
that
So
time he's losing out on work. I mean, like if you
That
just
too.
waited,
that's true. That's
like
true.
because I think honestly, I think that's why they're losing directors. It's not always just a creative vision, but it's like dude, he could direct 2 movies within the next 2 years.
Yep.
And I mean, they're not going to be Marvel movies, they're not going to be these huge budgeted movies. But the directors, I mean, in all honesty, unless you name the Russo brothers, like the directing, like Marvel isn't known for kind of building. I mean, well, okay, I'm saying this, but yes, Tika Waititi and James Gunn, they've kind of built their brand through the Marvel system. But I don't think the Blade director is gonna like. I didn't even know either one of those guys' names until you just mentioned it in the article. Like they're just not known commodities yet. And I don't think that they think that doing a Blade movie is gonna push their name up to the James Gunn, and the Russo brothers of the world. But like it's just a time. Like, I mean, you gotta work. Like, unless they're paying them to not work. I mean, if they're paying them, if they've already paid that money,
Well, they'd
I
still
don't
be
think
getting paid during this whole process.
Yeah.
who knows.
Man. Well, I mean, well, it's a shame because I didn't even realize Yang Damong was one of the directors. He hasn't directed a whole lot of movies, but he's really known for directing like very gritty, dark, like dramas, like 71 with Jack O'Connell. That was a fantastic movie. And then he also directed a crime thriller called White Boy Rick with Matthew McConaughey. That was like a very dark, gritty, like crime film, and that would have actually coalesced very well with Blade because Blade's very dark and gritty and all that stuff. That would have worked, but since he stepped away from the project, that's kind of a shame, honestly. And I was really like excited for this film. It was one of the few new Marvel films I was excited for because I like Marvel, but I'm not like excited for every single Marvel film that comes out.
Well, not
It's just
anymore.
yeah, no, exactly.
What about Raimi? You don't think Raimi could pull it off?
Oh yeah.
Who?
Well, I think he could.
Oh, Sam
I
Raimi.
would.
Oh yeah.
I feel like the pieces are right there where it's like Raimi can pull it off. Blade is a big franchise as well. Like T was harping back to the original. What I'm saying, give us something dark tones with a badass action sequences. What I'm saying, one-liners. Even though T mentioned they had good one-liners, but I can't get past that one finishing line when he kills Frost, where he's like, some mother effers always like to skate uphill. That's like one of the worst kill lines.
That is my favorite one line. I still use that.
What was he trying to say, T? That was like one of the worst kill lines. I hated that line.
Oh my! I can't. Ace, I thought
I couldn't do that.
Man, I thought we were mind melding until you just said that.
My favorite scene in the Blade franchise is from Blade 2, Michael, where he's threatening the team that's formed against him. That scene is so epic. But that's one of my worst kill lines. T definitely.
It definitely hasn't aged.
Like, that's one of my favorite one-liners in all movies, period. So,
you guys are bringing up the older movies a lot, which I do think, going back to Ace's point of like the fans have been wanting Blade for so long, I do think that almost the expectation of what Blade could be based off those movies in the MCU is almost a false, like, because that movie starts off with a bloodbath, a blood shower coming down on a bunch of vampires, and going back to the final battle that you guys were just talking about, that guy explodes and blood just bursts everywhere. Like, you think we're going to get that in the MCU? And I know that you said that they did it in the animated series with Spider-Man. They made Blade work in that, but I mean, how many people are really watching that besides kids? That like, I'm not saying it's just for kids. I'm not saying that fans don't, but I think that those are like the small minority of hardcore MCU fans that are watching those kinds of shows, right? The general audience MCU fans, they're wanting that Blade. Like, when they hear Mahershala Ali Blade, they're like, "Oh yeah, blood coming down from the showers and a vampire rave." Like the MCU.
The ravers love that scene.
Cannot do that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the goriest scene in MCU. Like,
it's probably Wanda killing all the multiverse characters. That's probably the goriest we've gotten.
Yeah.
Or when Thanos gets his head cut off, but that's like such a brief moment though.
Yeah, and it's off screen a little bit. Like, Marvel, they made it work, but there's no blood shown, and
they had moments to get super gory. Their Russo brothers were talking about Thanos coming out of the time travel and Endgame and throwing Captain America's head. They had
Yep.
their opportunities to do it, but obviously, you gotta. That's a
Again,
thin
those were
line.
cut
Yeah.
for a reason because you
Yeah, of
probably had
course.
the
I
Disney
agree with you.
shareholders.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
taking these kids' heroes and throwing their dismembered heads on the ground.
Can
Like,
you imagine how traumatizing that would have been?
oh,
Oh,
I
I
would
would
have loved
love
it.
it.
I thought that
Yeah.
when I read that
Oh, yeah.
scene, I was like, that would have been amazing. But it probably would have scarred some kids.
So,
Oh yeah, I
so-
mean, if you watch like the first Iron Man and like Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, which people say is a part of it, but technically not really since it's a different actor. Since that was before Disney bought the rights to Marvel, like you can actually watch those movies and you can look at a lot of scenes and you'd be like, if Disney bought Marvel before that, that scene wouldn't be there, that scene
that
would not
joke
be
wouldn't
there.
be there.
Like
Yeah,
the first 5 minutes of Iron Man where Tony Stark gets lucky with a woman, that would have been just completely cut out.
that's true.
Oh right, yeah, because it was in parent. Yep, that's
So,
right.
so since we're on the MCU topic, T, I know you're the emotional YouTuber on here and everything, but I want to know what is your like absolute saddest gut wrenching moment of the MCU that sticks with you?
Specifically the MCU or just any
Yeah,
Marvel
just MCU.
movie?
Since we're on the
Okay,
MCU.
okay.
Yeah.
I'll let T go first.
Oh, Spider-Man. Like Spider-Man going to
Yeah.
dust is like that is one of the greatest death period in movie. Like, and I
Mhm.
mean he didn't die, but like just the
Yeah, for a moment.
like just the emotional gravity that Tom Holland brought to that scene. Like going back and looking at it now, another one that really gets me is Black Panther. Like when he gets
Okay.
dusted, like because
Because of the
he's gone, like
context, yeah.
because he's
Yeah.
gone, yeah, because he's gone now. Like I can't watch, like I have a hard time watching that scene because of that, and Okoye's coming over there and it's like, man, that hurts me.
It's
Like those are
eerie.
the two, yeah, those are the two biggest emotional scenes in the MCU for me.
Yeah, I agree. Especially because when you think about it, man, it's just like his spider sense is going off. He has
Yep.
no idea what's happening, but his regeneration ability is trying to fight it, but it can't. And it is such a gut wrenching scene. I think the
Great
Aunt May
scene.
death scene as well
That
is
came
up
to
there
my
for
mind
me.
too. Yep.
Yep.
That's one of them. Anything with Wanda is because she's such a great actress as well. Like when she's that one scene where she sees like the not gut wrenching, but I'm just saying like it's super emotional where she sees like the house that Vision had built and she finally snaps into the hex. That acting scene
Oh yeah.
was really good. Moon Knight, like me and you had talked about Zach a while ago with Moon Knight, the one scene where he actually snapped after his mom's funeral. Emotional scenes like that definitely get to me.
I'm trying to think of like an emotional. I think maybe this might have been not as emotional for other people. What was the character's name in Guardians of the Galaxy? It was Rocket's
Yondu.
friend, the Otter.
Oh, the otter. Oh my gosh,
Lila,
Oh my
dude.
Lila.
god.
Dude,
Lila.
Guardians
So
3.
so
Yeah.
Oh
so I was one of those. I absolutely adore Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I
Same.
freaking loved that movie. High Evolutionary was probably one of the most menacing cold villains ever brought into like not even just the MCU, just superhero movies in general. Such a cold, heartless villain. I'm just like, how do you top that? Like that
Mhm.
scene specifically where she dies and Bradley Cooper, phenomenal actor. Like it's just where the heck has he been all this time from making those comedies and stuff? He God, like even though like it's just voice work and just his motion capture, that scene, I mean, I wasn't bawling my eyes, but like I felt like actual pain when I saw that because I'm not like a massive fan of the Guardians of the Galaxy films. Like I enjoy them a lot, but Guardians of the Galaxy 3, like I loved that movie so much. It's actually the only MCU movie I have on Blu-ray.
Mm. Yeah, I'm right there with you. And
That's
that
the
whole
only
entire
one you have on
movie.
Blu-ray?
Surprisingly, yeah. There's just so many to collect, but like when I saw it at Walmart, I'm like, I'm definitely getting this.
Yeah, that whole movie just hits, and like I said, last year was my number one in 2023 ranking. Like the emotion is just all throughout it, but it's done correctly. That one scene that gets me with Peter Quill standing over Rocket and Gamora's like, just let him go. He's like, no, I'm not letting him go. That gets me
Yeah.
every single time.
It's perfect.
Yep. And I'm okay with the emotions. I'm a human. I like to feel all various emotions when I'm watching these movies, and the MCU definitely has their fair share.
As long as they don't force the audience to cry. Like
Yeah.
like for example, like they want the audience to feel the emotion. They don't want us to see the emotion. They want us to feel it. That's what they
Exactly.
got to do.
Yeah, like Quicksilver's death brings another one to mind too. Like because
Yeah.
more of the impact to Wanda than actual Quicksilver. Like you felt bad for her more than you felt for the Quicksilver character because he wasn't really established.
all the ones that you guys have said are definitely in my top mind. I'm gonna go with an underrated one,
Mhm.
which is Civil War. Tony watching the video of his parents dying.
That was pretty
That
heartbreaking.
he
That was rough.
killed
actually.
that scene.
Oh, Robert Downey Jr. was
Bucky,
amazing
you're
in
right,
Civil
you're right.
War.
He did kill that scene. You're right, T.
That was a great, like, that whole, because you're wondering, these two people who have fought with each other to save the world, right? What's gonna make them fight? Like what Robert Downey Jr. did in that movie, in that scene in particular, where him and that fight was amazing because it was so, like, he was fighting for his it's hard to put in. Like, you're right. Man,
That is a good one, Zach.
that was a great, what they did with that scene, which could have really went off the rails one way. They redeemed themselves with just the emotional gravity of that fight.
Mhm.
Especially, he just wanted Bucky. He was going to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, that
Oh,
was
dude,
great.
I love it.
Civil
I
War.
love that scene so much in Civil War, and I love too. It works as a twist for me because I didn't see it coming because they set it up at the
Neither did
beginning
I.
of the movie with the Winter Soldier chasing down the car, and I had no idea that it was going to be the parents of Tony Stark. And it harkens back to the newspaper in Iron Man 2 where it says that they were killed in a car crash. Like they did such a great job with that scene, and I don't think enough people talk about that scene. Honestly, like I love that. That's one of my favorite scenes in Civil War.
But see, that's why it's like you got to have a director like the Russos continue, because like it was set up so perfectly, the whole Infinity Saga, where we needed them to split up. And for them to have, like, a lot of people don't like Civil War because, like, they want to see everybody together, happy ending type stuff. But you needed to set that conflict up for them to be split apart in Infinity War, for them to ultimately come together at Endgame. Unless you have the other one, and then, like I said, it was set up by Winter Soldier. All those 4 movies were Russo brothers. So that's why it's like the continuity flows, and I think that's what Marvel's lacking, is that continuity.
One thing I want to see if this works, because I haven't seen this yet. And I was just looking through the news site that I was on. Do you guys know there's a sausage party series coming out?
Foodtopia.
Foodtopia. Have you guys seen the trailer?
No.
I haven't either. I haven't seen
see it.
But I'm wondering. Let me know if you guys can hear this. I want to see if we can watch the trailer together.
Oh boy.
What is it rated?
Can you hear that?
Yes.
Or is it silent? You can hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. If you can hear it, I want to do this because I haven't seen this. Sausage
party trailer reaction.
Sausage party reaction. Well, let's see how it goes. We just have to talk, and we'll see how it goes. Okay. So, sausage party Foodtopia. Let's see what they got.
Food is alive. I repeat, food is alive.
Commence Operation Dessert Storm!
Oh my.
Welcome to Foodtopia!
Oh, so they kill the city?
The dominant species on Earth.
And as long as this brainy
Yeah, did you see the first sausage party, Zach?
I did, yeah. That food battle at the end of the grocery store was hilarious.
We're not going to talk about the last 10 minutes of that movie.
from now on. Living in perfect harmony.
This is ridiculous.
Nothing that can stop us.
Looks a lot more toned down than the movie.
Looks like the animation kind of went down a bit.
What is happening? What are we gonna do without you? We don't know how shit works. We don't know anything.
Did they get the whole cast back? Is that Seth Rogen?
That's definitely Seth Rogen.
You got blind melons and
that's Edward Norton.
pumpkins. You're gonna tell me the revolution was worth it? No way.
I mean, Amazon has a budget for it.
We're gonna fix Foodtopia. Huh? We need a human to tell us how. Back on a human hunt. I go on and on. They're dumber than you think. You know, their brains aren't even.
Oh my word!
Michael Cera's back. Okay.
Oh my
I'm plugged
gosh.
in. What are you doing? There's a hot dog up the ears.
Oh my god.
I'll do whatever you want.
Oh my gosh!
Hot fire!
Oh my.
Oh my.
Things the food way.
I brought you some finger foods.
Oh
again
my
about
He actually
word.
had fingers. Oh my
I'm an
gosh.
everything bagel. You hear that, world?
Oh, it's not Edward Norton. Okay.
Where's the entry point? Hot dog.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Okay.
Oh my
I
word.
guess Edward Norton didn't want to come back to play the bagel.
I guess not.
Oh, that's a shame.
Wow, that looks unhinged.
Funny story about that, right? Tell me why. One day I got a text message from my mom who loves animated movies. She had just seen that on Netflix and was like, why didn't you tell me how bad Sausage Party was? And I was like, why did you even watch
Watch it, yeah.
Because all she thought was it was an animated film about food. So I could just imagine what her surprise was when they got into all those crazy scenes.
My mom thought the
I'm
same
in the
thing with the
minority.
trailer.
Mm-hmm.
What was that, Michael? You're in the minority?
Oh, I'm in the minority. Like, so I remember seeing Sausage Party in theaters. You know, when everybody was talking about it when the trailer came out. I mean, here's the thing: even if that was a kids movie, I think the name Sausage Party should have already been like a clear idea.
That's a very good point.
Like, I feel like you shouldn't have to know whether it's a kids movie or not. Like, no studio would name a kids movie that. But I actually enjoyed Sausage Party. I mean, yeah, no, it's not a good movie. I mean, look, it's a movie about talking food. It's as good as you're going to make it. I thought it was actually pretty clever. I love that little tiny joke where like, what's it called, the hot dog and bun. Like I don't care to remember their names. I like it
Oh, I
when
don't
when they split up and then you hear that song by Meatloaf playing and it's literally a
Oh,
Meatloaf
yeah.
singing. Like
Oh.
I thought that was kind of funny. But I mean I haven't seen it since. But I mean, like I said, like that the last 10 minutes of that movie we're just not going to talk about. This is a family friendly podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. After that trailer, it might not be so family friendly.
You know what? Yeah, you know what? Never mind. I don't know what.
There's some
what the
things
hell
I'm
I'm
gonna have to
talking
bleep on the rewatch on the on the edited version, but
Oh boy, so how do
I'm
you
gonna
guys feel
watch
about
that.
it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. My favorite scene in first Sausage Party was definitely with the toilet paper. That was hilarious.
Oh,
He was
dude,
like, "What
yeah.
happened
Oh,
to you?"
yeah.
He's like, "You don't want to know."
Yeah, what did he do to you? Oh no, what was even worse, the one scene, and I'll keep it as PG as I can. The one scene that made everybody in the theater go crazy was the scene where Michael Cera's little hot dog character is walking around the city, and on the side of the street there's the condom, and that's it. That's all I'm
Oh,
gonna say.
yeah.
That scene
Oh
was
yeah, I'm,
that scene literally made me
yeah.
look. My mom looked at me because every time something inappropriate happens in a movie, my mom always does this. Always just looks at me like, "Do you know what that is?" It's like, just watch the damn movie.
Yeah, sometimes it's like that with movies. I was like, that happened with me and my mom with Super Bad because I remember
Oh,
as a kid when it
I
first
love
came out,
Superbad.
I rented Super Bad and I was like,
classic.
"Mom, we gotta watch this. Everybody's talking about it," and it had nothing but like raunchy humor. My mom was like, "Why don't you just go upstairs and watch this by yourself?" So,
I mean, the whole objective is to have sex with the
exactly.
girl before they leave high school.
That's the plot of the movie.
That's super bad.
Yeah.
I wonder why they're making that a series. I mean, I'm not like upset about it, but like, I wonder why they didn't just go the sequel route with that one.
Mm.
It looks like a funny concept. I mean, it's completely ridiculous. They kill all the humans, or at least on the block.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, it was ridiculous from the start.
I've never seen Sausage Party, and I
Oh,
probably
good.
will
Should.
not. I would
You
never.
should.
I should not. I've tried, and it was like the first 5 minutes. I was like, nah. I was like, this is a bit too much. I think I was deployed when Sausage Party came out because I was excited for it, and
Yeah.
then finally I got it on DVD or something. I was like, no.
Right. What
no.
what year did you get out, T?
I retired 2 years ago.
Oh, thank you for your service, by the way.
Appreciate
Absolutely.
it. Thank you.
You can't tell me that kitchen scene though wasn't epic though. That was
Oh, dude.
hilarious.
Oh, where they're
That's-
peeling the potato,
The baby
or they're
carrots, like,
eating
oh.
children.
I do think the Sausage Party had a little bit of a one note joke going on with it that did get a little bit like I think the movie dove into being a commentary on like religion a bit more than I was expecting it to be when I watched it. But I'll never forget when my mom found I already knew about it because I had seen the trailer, and my mom
Right.
found the trailer and she was like, "Oh, this looks cute," and I was like, Mom, you're not gonna want to watch that one." And she put it
That
on.
sounds like something my mom would say.
And when they started peeling the potato, I'll just never forget her shock. Like I was like, that is why Seth Rogen made this movie, because he like at the time we didn't have an animated movie like that, at least not to that like it looked like a kid's family movie. Like it had the same animation style. It started off kind of cute. It was kind of playing off of like the tropes of like Toy Story and Inside Out from Pixar, and then they just took it left field. And yeah,
Gotta give them prop. Gotta give them props. Actually, like we don't really have a whole lot of like 3D animated like adult films. I think that's probably the only one. I mean, unless like I'm missing something, but I mean, you gotta give them like some balls for actually
Yep.
like making that movie.
Yeah, and the
Yep.
perfect
I mean, they
villain,
made the
villain.
interview, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
that too.
like they were all about just taking risk. That's what I'll say. Taking
That's what.
risk for the sake of the joke.
That's why I love Seth Rogen. I always will love everything he does, even if it's a terrible movie.
I
Seth
just don't like
Rogen's my
his
guy.
laugh. I just don't like his laugh. His laugh kind of annoys me. Like, but Sauce's Party and they nailed it perfectly. The villain's a douche, so it's as simple as that. Like,
Literally,
nice
yeah.
little double entendre with
He,
that
re-
one. So,
hey, but what was his name? Nick Kroll, I think does the voice.
hmm
He's really good at like doing that "come at me, bro" douche voice. I mean, he also does like the voices on that show Big Mouth, which I've never seen. My sister is obsessed with that show, but I mean, he played a good douche. I guess that's something he can put on his resume.
yeah.
Yeah.
Watch
Yeah.
it, T.
Well,
Check it. Try to watch it.
Yeah.
I will not.
I
Well,
can't. I
I got
can't say I recommend it, but
Yeah,
that trailer was that was that was
Well, I got a
just
question
crazy.
for you guys now. I wanted to originally I was going to ask a top 5, but since we're out of time, I want to ask your top 2. What are like the top 2 movies that really have shaped you as a movie lover? Movies that you still watch to this day? The type of movies that if someone says they've never seen it, you're willing to rent the movie for them so they can watch it, so they can experience it. What are those movies that still just feel magical every time you watch it?
That's
Oh
a good question.
We'll
man.
start with Zach.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I gotta go the original Star Wars, New Hope, because that's just like the first movie that kind of like just opened up my imagination as a
Hmm.
kid. It's one of the first movies I ever saw, and when I still watch it, I still feel the magic of it. Absolutely. And as far as like shaping, I would say that I gotta give Iron Man some credit. Because Iron
Classic.
Man, like I loved the Raimi Spider-Mans and I loved some other like superhero shows when I was younger, mainly all Spider-Man. But Iron Man was like my gateway into loving comic book movies and diving into the worlds of them and wanting to watch more. And yeah, the MCU has just been with me for like, oh my goodness, like probably how old is MCU now? Like 11
2008.
years, 12 years? Like
Since 2008.
2008. Yeah, so I was like 9 years old. So like yeah, like more than half my life up until this point has been with the MCU. So I've been with the MCU longer than I was without it. So that's
Right.
definitely got to be like like Iron Man, and then if you want to adjacent that to the Avengers, you could do that too. But that's shaped for sure. I wouldn't be doing YouTube if it wasn't for the MCU, because that didn't make me just love comic book movies, but that opened my love up even more for movies in general.
Right. How about you, Ace? What are like those 2 movies for you that still just feel magical to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Iron Man as well, only because like it broadened my horizon to my personality and stuff like that. Like I've made so many friends just from the MCU
Mhm.
as well, like you guys as well, and I've had lifelong friends, and like I said, I also wouldn't have a channel without Iron Man. But I'm also gonna add Bronx Tale in there. Bronx Tale is such a classic movie that I watched. You got it?
I think he's got it.
Ah, he think
He's
he's
reaching for
got it.
something. He's either reaching for that or
There
Sausage
you
Party.
go.
There you
Yep.
go.
You can't tell me that movie isn't legendary with
Yeah.
everything that it represents. You know what I'm saying? And it's definitely one of my all-time favorite movies. It's so quotable as well. It's just so many lessons in there that you can take from it as well. And it's definitely one of my favorites.
I love mafia movies.
Yep. Yeah,
And
exactly.
what about you, T?
So when you asked that question, first movie that came to mind, Forrest Gump. Forrest Gump is my number one movie of
Good
all
one.
times. Like just a simple human doing extraordinary things, right? And I feel like that's me in a nutshell. I've gotten to meet some extraordinary people, and just like being me, right? Just the guy bought a fruit company, never had to work again. That's just one of my favorite. Just never had to work again. The second movie, as I was thinking, I was like, man, the first movie that came to mind was Seven, but I was like, no, that's like I love Seven. That's like
I've
one of my favorite movies. But the other movie I would say is Mr. Holland's Opus. I love that movie with a passion. Now I just found out Richard Dreyfuss is a tool, and he's not a very nice person. He's not a very progressive human being. But that movie in itself, if you've never seen Miss Opus, Holland's Opus, about a music teacher, he goes into teaching music begrudgingly, and he teaches from like the 50s all the way to the 90s when he finally retires, and has Forrest Whitaker, has what's the main Terrence Howard, it all just another actress who Alicia Witt, I think she's in that movie as well.
What movie
But
is that?
it's Mr. Holland's Opus.
Why is that? I mean, I love Forrest Whitaker. I'm trying to think if I've ever heard of that film before.
Richard Dreyfuss got nominated for an Oscar for this movie. He didn't
Oh,
win.
It's
I
a
thought he
musical.
should have won.
It's a
It
musical, right?
it no, it's not a musical. It's heavily music is heavily involved, but it's not like they don't break out in a song and dance. There's like
Hmm.
there is musical numbers in there because he's a music teacher, so he teaches them how to play certain, like Forrest Whitaker, he teaches them how to play the drums. It was Terrence Howard. Teach him how to play the drums, but he ended up going to Vietnam and getting killed. Like it's like a time, like one of those time moving stories where it just goes through the decades, and you just, he's a music teacher, but his son is deaf. Like his son is born, he can't hear, and it's
Hmm.
like this huge arc about him, him loving music so much, but his son not being able to hear it. And it's this as his son grows up, there's this huge rift between them because he can't enjoy the one thing his father loves. It's like it's a really good movie. It's worth a watch. Uh, you know,
I'll definitely check
Watch
that
it
out.
somewhere for free because
Yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss is a tool, like I said. But like I love that movie. It's a drama. It's like it's no action. It's some comedy. William H. Macy's in the movie as well. Olympia
Ooh,
Dukakis. Like
ooh.
it's a good movie. It was in the 90s, I think it was. I think it came out. So it's an
I'm at,
older movie, but it's worth
yeah,
a
I'll,
watch.
I'll definitely check it out, man. I love that. I want to say for my two favorite movies of all time, they've always changed over the years, but my favorite.
You're muted.
Oh, we lost you. You're muted.
Oh,
Just as you were about to say them.
Way to keep us on suspense. You have me right there on the
yeah.
edge.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, this microphone kind of sucks. But my favorite movie of all time is Stand by Me. It still is to this day.
Oh, so good.
Love that movie. And I love that movie too because like it's so perfect and it's so short too. Like most epic dramas always go over the 2 hour mark. Stand by Me is only like an hour 29 minutes, and it fits everything together so perfectly. And River Phoenix, I mean, such a shame that he died so soon.
Yeah.
Gave probably one of the best child performances right next to Haley Joe Osment in The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Another
so
eerie
good.
thing where his character in the movie is supposed to die young, and he ended up dying young in real life. Another
Yeah,
eerie thing.
it's such a shame, man, but I love that movie. And then
Will
what's it
Wheaton was
called? And
great
then
in
my
that too.
second favorite movie of all time is a Francis Ford Coppola film, The Outsiders. Absolutely love The Outsiders.
Oh, Pony Boy.
Pony
Stay
Boy
golden,
Curtis, yeah.
Pony Boy. Yeah.
Yeah, what's funny is because there's two versions of The Outsiders. There's like the theatrical version and there was the complete novel version. And whenever like I try to tell people to watch it, they'll be like, "Oh, that was so short." I'm like, "Wait, like how long was the movie?" They're like an hour 30. I'm like, "You have to watch the complete novel version. Watch the director's cut." No matter what, honestly, you should always watch a director's cut for a film. I mean, depending on what film it is, because there are some movies where the director's cut didn't make it better, like Batman v Superman. Did that director's cut really make a difference? Not really.
More context, but still the same
More
movie.
context, but The Outsiders director's cut. I mean, that's such a great movie. I mean, Francis Ford Coppola rarely has ever had a misstep. I'm very curious to what his next movie is when his next movie's coming out, Megalopolis, which has Adam Driver, which a lot of
Ooh.
people apparently it had some early screenings and some people have said that it was very mediocre, which kind of breaks my heart to hear that from a Francis Ford Coppola film. But if you guys have never seen The Outsiders, love it. But for a third film, which I know we only said two, but I'm just gonna. This is just like a running joke between me and Zach. Zach, you gotta watch Sling Blade.
Yes, I know I do.
Gotta watch it, man. I'll send you a copy because you can't find it on streaming. It's not on streaming anywhere.
No? Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
it difficult.
yeah, definitely. Maybe I'll have to mail you a copy one of these days.
Ooh, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Yeah, I know you've been wanting me to watch that for months, so I gotta get on that for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, guys, we covered a lot of ground. We covered a lot of ground today.
for a show that didn't have any topics, we did pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah, we
didn't need
did
topics.
really good actually. I actually quite enjoyed that. I don't know if I wouldn't mind doing that again. That was actually a lot of fun. But for today, that's going to be the show. Thank you guys so much for being here and joining me. I do want to say Collective Movie Man was in here. Thank you so much for joining us, Collective Movie Man, and being a channel member. Saying hello. Well, hello to you too, my friend. And tell the people where they can find you guys.
Well, you can find me at Have You Seen That with T, the YouTube channel. I'm also on Letterboxd at Have You Seen That. Today, I am doing my second live stream of the year. We're doing a mid-year review at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Me and Kenny Sparks, we're going to talk about the year so far and what are our biggest disappointments, biggest surprises, and none of that's going to include Madam Web. So definitely join us if you got the time.
Smart man.
So yeah, that's what I got coming up.
Love it.
So is there really any point of watching if there's no Madam Web? So
Facts.
So you can find me. You just type in Michael Entity. I don't really post reviews as much as I do because I'm very busy. But I want to say next week I'm gonna do like a catch-up video where I talk about all the films that I've seen and do like maybe a 1 minute, 2 minute review for each movie because I have seen a lot in the past couple weeks. So look forward to that next week on my channel.
you can find me at the Ace Avenue. That's DAACE Avenue for your sports and movie content. Trying to ramp up the reviews, reactions, and stuff like that leading into Deadpool. Also, I am in my Behind the Teams segment for the NFL. So that's what you can look forward to. And the Yankee season is in full effect.
Awesome.
Excellent. Yeah, lots of stuff going on with all you guys. So looking forward to seeing it all. And yeah, you guys can find me just right here. Don't go anywhere. You're in the right spot. All right, guys. Thank you, all of you guys, for being members and for joining me today. I had a great time with you and with you guys as well. We'll see you next week. Take care.